with $4,000 in 2 cases, and myself with $1,193 in 3 cases. Got to figure out why does mine not show up? Because it doesn't matter. Okay, so that's a leaders board. Shout out to everyone. Big shout out to Julian for just closing that case a couple days ago. And let's go over to the quiz. The quiz from last week was, if you're married but filing single, can you and your spouse contribute to an IRA? Right. So this is rare, but it actually came up. James Land was talking about this a few months ago. This actually does happen. Some people are married, but they file their taxes single. It's rare. It's a lot of disadvantages to doing that. The answer is yes, you can still do a Roth or traditional, either one. But as you can see here, only if your income is below $10,000, right? So if you're one of the 2 spouses in this story, the one spouse, or maybe both, I guess, that makes under 10 grand, you can do an IRA. If you make under 10 grand, you probably can't afford to do an IRA. Okay. Wow, it's just crazy. The IRA rules are just insane, in my opinion. Okay, then let's take a look quickly. I want to mention, let me go back and forth to screen share, not screen share. There we go. Okay, once again, contest we have going right now is the first person to do a variable annuity. To write a variable, it doesn't matter what size, what company, but it's just if you do a variable annuity, you get these 2 reports I just held up, and these are variable annuity reports. They're fantastic. I've already talked about them ad nauseum, and highlighted, printed out for you. I will mail them to you. They are really good. Okay, let's move on. Quiz. Okay, let's see. 17 secrets, 17 tips to guarantee success. Okay, this one. 50-50-50. As quickly as you can, you want to get to 50-50-50. And the first one arguably is almost the most important, which is 50 cases. You need to get 50 securities cases. Until you have 50 cases under your belt, 50 docu-signed close. It doesn't have to be 50 clients, right? Your average client may be 2 to 5 to 6 to 7 cases. Sometimes just 1, but sometimes it's multiple, right? I mentioned that story. Recently, I had an 18-year-old kid that had a lot of money saved from just working, not from his parents, that very frugal, and opened up 3 accounts, right? Opened up a Roth IRA, an emergency account, and a save for a house account. So there was 3 accounts right there from an 18-year-old kid. You need to get if you're newer, which is anyone under 4 years in this business, or even, this is a great litmus test. If you have under 50 cases, you're new. I don't care if you've been here 10 years, okay? Really, it should be 100, but let's go with 50. Until you have 50 cases, accounts, stock you signed, I would say this respectfully, but I'm trying to help you. Don't have an opinion. Just be coachable. You don't even know what you don't know. And the things that you know about the things that you don't know, you don't even know what you don't know. Believe me, it's a lot different. You'll be a lot different advisor once you've had your 48th case versus your 4th case. So just be coachable. Don't do too much analysis. Don't get the paralysis of analysis. Just trust in your management, trust in the team, trust in our culture, trust in our philosophy. We do the right thing for clients, and we do the right thing for advisors. You're never going to screw anybody up with the stuff we tell you. If you want to make some adjustments to your business or your products or your style or your investments or your systems or your processes after you've had 100, 150, 200 accounts, fine. But you don't even know what to do. It's just all theory for you. I'm trying to help you. So just get to 50 accounts. Just get off your butt and get to 50 accounts and get them under your belt. That's a minimum. This is a minimum. The second 50, it's 50, 50, 50, it's 50,000 of income. Until you have 50,000 of income in a year, in a 12-month rolling period, same kind of story. The next one you want to go for is 50,000 ARR, annual recurring revenue. And that comes from monthly drafts, which is probably where most of it will come from in the early years. Then you have some trails, you have residuals, you have renewals from variable annuities, etc. The main thing is monthly drafts. So until you do that, just work, right? Do your 1 to 4 product. I'm giving you the secrets. I say it every week and ad nauseum, and I know you get tired of hearing it, but there is no other way to do the business. This is the business. 1 to 4 prospects a day, prospecting attempts a day, 2 to 4 new appointments a week. You need to revenue about $2,500 of revenue a week, roughly. Most people don't even do that a month. And you need to keep that week after week. That's your 50,000 income game plan. And you're going to get your 50 accounts, and you will learn so much. Don't focus so much on earning. Focus on learning and getting those 50 accounts under your belt. Okay, next thing, the national conference. Just put it in your calendar for IP. I found out, by the way, through the grapevine, Well, let me just do this. It's October 4th to October 6th. And that is that in the past, it actually has been mandatory because they do a compliance meeting there. They didn't say anything about that this year. And I've never been because, we joined IP during COVID. So all this stuff was on hold and they didn't decide not to do it last year. It was still kind of too close to COVID. But I heard recently someone said, yeah, this used to be mandatory, which a lot of firms do that, especially more professional firms. Mandatory. I mean, nothing is mandatory, right? You're in a hospital with a broken leg. You don't have to go. But anyway, just put that in your calendar. So if you don't want to go, don't go. But don't give me the excuse that you didn't know about it or you didn't schedule a time. This is far enough in advance, which, by the way, I've very rarely been with any company that gave us the dates at least that far in advance. Okay, let's see. This is interesting. I found out also recently, another thing I found out is IP, the broker-dealer, well, the whole company, not just the broker-dealer, advisory firm, the insurance, the whole Innovation Partners LLC, has 137 employees. If you can believe that. That's support. And what's so unique about that is, without going on a whole long tirade, but this is what's important. And again, if you're a newer person, or even you've been along for a long time, but maybe only been at one firm, maybe you've never really been at other firms, or you don't recruit people from other firms. I've done both of those. And I'd like to think that I have a pretty good handle on how the industry works. It's very difficult. In fact, I've never found really a company that had the best of both worlds. The stability, the management stability, not just the financial stability, but the management and leadership stability, the direction and vision stability, without being crazy. The last company I was at, the CEO is literally a nut job, just all over the place, both in his personal life and in the business. And I'm not here to just to disparage him or her. You can figure out who it is. It's not about that, but the company still is all over the place, right? So you want the stability, financial stability, and maybe arguably almost more important, the management stability of a larger company. But then you also don't want to be the Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, Raymond James, Edward Jones, where you're so limited and you're almost just an employee. You don't own your own accounts. You can't have outside business. You have quotas. It's not part-time. You can't run your business your way. They dictate to you the philosophies, the products. And that was always the benefit, or so seemingly the benefit of a smaller firm. More nimble, more quick. People can do what they want. No one's dictating, which actually wasn't the truth. The smallest firm I've ever been with, which is a previous firm, the one I was just talking about, has, anyway, doesn't matter. The point is, what I found out now being here for over a year, almost a year and a half, and really researching, right? Because this is all bit me in the butt on both directions in the past. And I'm trying to bring people into the business and have you guys be successful. So I spend a lot of energy and time testing systems out, talking to other reps, talking to the company, making notes, thinking about it, seeing what's happening. And to have this combination, here's the point, of that stability and stability of a larger firm, and then having the nimbleness and freedom from a smaller firm. That's the mid-sized firm is where it's at. I don't know if other mid-sized firms necessarily are like that. I've heard some of them are better and some are worse. But no quotas, truly no quotas. Even the smaller firm I was just talking about, the one I came from, has instituted quotas. We have no quotas. Now, I don't know why you wouldn't do anything and stay here and pay your fees and do compliance. That's silly, but nonetheless you can. And the freedom to do this, the massive amounts of products, to be able to do outside business, part-time, and yet then again had the access to all the same type of products and sophisticated investments that the Morgan Stanleys and Merrill Lynch have. So it's just, and then that 137 employees just speaks to. I mean, even surprised me. I thought it was like around 50, because I remember always saying they have more employees than my previous broker dealer has advisors plus employees. They have 137 employees, and they're worth 25. They have 25 billion under management. My previous firm, which is they're the same age, they started 6 weeks apart. They're both 13, 14 years old, has literally 1/100th, not 1/10th, 1/100th of that assets under management, and has 25 advisors. The aggregate of all the companies is down, but individual firms within the holdings of that fund or portfolio do well, right? When the market's down, doesn't mean every company's down. When the market's up, doesn't mean every company's up. So you still have winners within, you just have more losers than winners, if you want to call them losers. I mean, be careful about that language. They're just down for the year. The point is, you can have the account value be down in your mutual fund, but you actually still get dividend payments. Right? People like that blows people's minds. Okay, excellent, really excellent. Let's see. Right? Since 1926, another great statistic you should kind of stamp on your brain. Since 1926, the U.S. stock market has rewarded investors with an annualized return of about 10%. Okay? Right? A good, solid, actively managed, equity-based mutual fund will do about 12. But the average stock market, the index, if you want to call it that, is 10 and 12. Right? It is what it is. I don't care what it is this year. That's the average. Yearly returns have ranged as high as 54, as low as 43. Since 1926, annual returns have been positive 71 out of 26, right? So depending on what statistic you look at, the one I've always used, and it's been probably repeated in multiple places, is the stock market's up about 75. It's actually 74. 75% of the time, it's down 25. Okay? That's a good little stat to know. Okay, let's see. Nope, let's skip that. Okay, this is always good, is the Ask Nick. This is where advisors like us email Nick with questions, and then he answers them in the public forum without mentioning your name because he's pretty tough. And some good things. Here's a great question. Can you see how this is a good solution to your stated needs? This is actually a great question to use in the 2-question close, which we're going to be covering today. Does this strike you as a sensible solution to your situation? I might even copy that over there as one of the. Keep repeatedly ask for buy-ins. Always keep checking for agreement, right? Test closes, as we call them. So see, even the great Nick Murray says the same things that we've been saying, right? Keep checking to him, with him, that's the client, as your presentation goes along. Okay. Okay, that was it. A lot more stuff, a lot of stuff on dividends. And let me go back to, so I encourage you to read that. It's posted in the Dailies chat room. I think it was a week ago. And of course we have, it's in Drive. It was in the newsletter. So if you can't find it, let me know, but I'm giving you the secrets of the business. You want to know what the winners and the successful people over the years have done? This is the things you need to be doing, right? And not just read it, but like you saw, I highlight it. And I make notes. I really do. I have a Nick Murray journal in my notes area, and I make notes. I copy and paste it, and I go over it. And that's how you internalize, right? You got to treat this business like you're going to night school to get a PhD. That's what you need to do. Worked for me. Okay, another nice little script. I mentioned that the other day. I think in the mastermind chat room that I've been using for years and years and years. And it's a great sentence. And it's for IRAs, right? Because we are currently in IRA season. If you're securities licensed, especially, again, if you're newer, you should be writing 2 or 3 IRAs a week. You're in IRA season, right? How many? They have till April 15th to write business for last year, for 2022. And if they miss April 15th, that loophole closes, that window closes. So you want to help people? That's what we all claim. Then go out there and start daggum helping people. Start spreading the word. Right? We're it's only 8 weeks left. We're right basically like right now. Today's the 13th, right? So in 2 months and 2 days, the window closes for last year. And you can't be doing it April, 12th, okay? Because you're gonna have. So anyway, here's one of the things that I say about IRAs to people. Say, look, if the government's going to give you a legal loophole to either to hide money from taxes or at least delay it for a long time, why would you not take advantage of it? So I always call it legal loophole. And some people say, oh, it's not a loophole. I know it's not. It's not a loophole. A loophole infers that it's really not supposed to be allowed, but technically you can. And I know the IRAs aren't that, but it grabs their attention. Like, look, people complain about taxes and the government. So here the government gives you a legal loophole of, for last year, $6,000 or $7,000 that you can hide per person from the government fully, Roth IRA, or at least delay the taxes for a long, long time, traditional IRA, and you don't want to take advantage of it? See? You need to learn some of these little phrases. Learning this phraseology is 1,000 times more important than getting your CFP or 65 or 26 or 7 or spending 5 hours on Morningstar analyzing funds. This stuff, this is gold, right? I mean, when I got into business, there was no internet. There was no, right? It was, I can't tell you. I mean, I know it's a sob story, but driving literally halfway across the country to go to driving 13 hours to go to a seminar just to pick up some phraseology, pick up some language. And when I got it, I got so many stories of things I did because I was hungry. And then when I got it, I mastered it. And Lord, I'd walk around. I remember my girlfriend at the time was like, "What are you doing?" Like, you're talking to yourself in the shower, you're talking to yourself in the car, you're in the living room, walking around. Because I was practicing and rehearsing these scripts, stuff that nowadays just comes out. I've forgotten more of that stuff than I even use. But it helps. That's what you got to be focusing on. Like I said, until you get 50 accounts, you don't worry about everything else. All right. Let's move on to main event. Let me go to screen share. So closing. I'm going to give you what I feel, and that's coming from me, could be wrong. What is the best closing method you could ever have? And what I will tell you is one of the things that I've done over the years is I've mentioned this before, is prune down our resource. Our main resource, which is the wiki. It used to be the knowledge base, and before that it was basically a Word document, or actually, Word Perfect document. And actually there was a blog between that. But it was all the things I've learned and picked up, and was originally designed for myself, and then it's on the website. If you're not taking advantage of the website too, you're missing out. It's just telling you the deal. All right. So what I've done over the years is I've toned it. We used to have 15 closes, no joke, right? 47 prospecting techniques. Pare that all down to the ones that are the best. That's what we're going to do with closing. First of all, closing. There's a video here that you could watch. It's called Closing, the two-step, right here, the two-step question close. So a couple of concepts. Closing is you want to think of it as it says here, I'm sure you can read ahead, is what you're trying to do is you're trying to get a person to make a decision that's right for them. So if you don't believe that what you're doing is right for someone, then figure out, ask me, ask your manager, ask someone else, and find out what's the right thing. Not what pays the highest commission, and by the way, not what the client thinks they want. You're not a salesperson, you're an advisor, so give advice, even if it's opposite of what the client wants. I had an advisor who's actually with us, doesn't do much, and not securities licensed, like we're talking about securities. And was like, can we do crypto? I said, technically we can do crypto. You'd never want to do it. What if the client wants it? It's like, then even more of a reason not to do it. What do you mean if the client wants it? You're not a salesperson just selling them what they think they want. You're an advisor. You're giving advice. And that advice can be, the client isn't always right. In fact, usually the client, I say to the client, say, the old adage, the client's always right. Well, this isn't the shoe business, right? You're hiring me to give you advice. And my advice happens to be contrary to yours, which means you're not right. If you think you're right, what do you need me for? Just do that, then do that thing, okay? But if you're coming to me, that's, by the way, on the securities form, that's the difference between solicited and unsolicited, right? Anyway, point is, once you truly believe that what you're doing for them is right, not just say it out loud, not say it to your spouse, not say it to me, but really believe, gee, I can't believe George is not doing his IRA for last year. We got, 8 weeks and 2 days left. What's he doing? Right? Like, you really believe that. This is crazy. Now, you don't talk to him that way, but that's in your mind. That's legitimately what you feel. Then you should move heaven and earth within the realms of being a professional, being kind and nice, within the, what's accepted in our society. You need to push hard to get him to close. Again, within those boundaries, keeping him in that jacuzzi bubble. That's how you truly close. And another tip too is you should own it. If you're newer and you don't have your Roth IRA, your traditional IRA set up, in this, I'm just using IRAs as an example here. or you don't have a living trust, you don't have life insurance, I mean, it's okay. We're not going to get on your case. And the client may never ask you, but you know it. The most important person in that story knows that you do or don't have that product. You do. You don't. Okay, so that's the first thing you have to do. I'm spending so much time on this, is if you want to really get good at closing, you want to convince your buddy about the diet and exercise program, then you need to get on the diet. Doesn't mean you have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. You might even still not be in the shape you want to be in. But you better be on the program, right? You get the idea. It really makes a difference, okay? Owning it and believing it. Okay, closing tips, some more closing tips. There it says you must believe it. Okay, here's a big one. Here's one that really got to me. This is one of the most, in this one here, this is what helped me the most. Don't sell past the close. Stop convincing when they said yes. Don't keep talking. I did that so much, right? Next one is you do a lot of test closes. Well, here it is, closes, trial closes, right? How are you feeling about this all so far? Based on what you know so far, how do you feel about all this? Does that sound as good as expected? And let's go back to Nick Murray real quick, because what were those questions, which I'm going to put into, there it is. Can you see how this is a good solution to your stated needs? Like stated needs for me, for Michael Thomas, is a little bit of a, I don't know, not like too academic talking, but I could say, hey, can you say this is a good solution for you? Totally would say that. Conversational. Does this strike you as a sensible solution in your situation? I would just cut that off. Does this strike you as a sensible solution for retirement? Maybe I'd say that, right? I'm going to actually copy these and put them over here, because these are good. So though you could add those down here. So these are good trial closes. Another one of the most important things, and here what's important about closing here, because this is all part of it. Closing isn't just that final sentence, which we're going to get to in a second. This is also the buildup, right? Taking baby steps, asking trial closes. But you don't want to use the same one more than once, maximum twice in the story. You can't memorize just, so how are you feeling about all this so far? Which is my favorite. It's very, very open-ended. And I love it. The first point is don't use the same one maximum twice in the same situation, because then it becomes a speech pattern and it gets annoying, right? Okay. So we got to learn some of these and practice them. This is one area where you do want to have more than one way to do it. But these really work. Most advisors don't. I'm the same way. Just keep talking. Just keep going, and hopefully they interrupt me and just say stop and I want to buy a product. That's what we're almost secretly hoping. We're just going to keep going, give them more data, more information, and then eventually they'll be overwhelmed and they'll see it's good and they'll just stop me whenever they're ready, and then they say yes and I can make the sale. And that's not how it works in the real world. Just think about when you go into Best Buy and you want to buy TV, how does that salesperson comes up, engages with you in a conversation? How do they start asking you questions? What are you looking for? Are they taking their time? Or halfway through your answer, when you're answering their question, they jump in and start, right? You want to do all those things. You want to be super calm, super slow, soak everything. And we talked about all that. The best area, I would think, in our training to learn that is under the handling objections. Go watch the handling objections video, and that's where you'll see more about staying calm, listening. Not the way I'm talking to you now, because I'm on a video. There's no interaction, so I'm just throwing up on you, giving you data. You want to be slow and responsive. Trial closure is super, super important. Okay, I got one-liners here. I'm going to kind of skip these for a second. I'm going to go to our close. So this is the best close I've ever seen. It's a modified close from Zig Ziglar, and he called it the 3-question close. Now, the first thing I want to do, actually, let me just go back a second, is when do you close? And there really is no magic point that you close. It's more of a vibe or a intuition you get after having done it many times. You want to get good at closing? Do a crap ton of closing attempts. You want to get good at objections? This is the big, let me tell you, objections was the one area I was really good at. Like if you took, 1,000 salespeople in our business or advisors, and you took each part of the business, prospecting, the initial presentation, building rapport, listening, and all the little subsections, and everyone did 1,000 of all of them, or 1,000 people did all of them, and then they picked, okay, this guy was the best at prospecting. I probably would be in handling objections. I would be at the top. or near the top. The one area I just practiced my tail off under objections. And because I was afraid of objections like everybody else. I was afraid of what if someone says something I don't know the answer to? What if all the things that you're thinking too, believe me. And it just was an epiphany. I was still in college. And I just thought, you know what? I just got to do a crap ton of it. So I would literally, in the early stages of my career, when I was first selling term life insurance, against cash value insurance, is I would sometimes literally give people objections that they didn't ask, just so I could practice. And in my mind, I was like, come on, give me more, right? Term runs out, term is temporary, cash value gives you both. You get to build up a savings, you can borrow it for free, all the crap, right? And all that stuff. Or even, you're too young, and who's this company? I never heard of this company before, all those type of things. And the key was that I was never afraid of or in the beginning I was, but I despite my fear of objections, if you will, of people arguing with me or giving me, I embraced them. Like I said, I would give it to them until I got to a point one day, and I thought about, you know what? I haven't heard an objection like for months that I didn't have the answer to. And I've handled doesn't mean I closed all the sales, but I handled every objection. And I did it nicely. So it wasn't just the data, it wasn't just the information, but it was the way to do it. So the point is, I got good by doing it so much, and then I didn't even know, it was more intuition, right? And then I applied that to every other part of the business. And with closing, it's the same thing. As Tom Hopkins says, you develop a closing instinct. And the way to do that is you just got to do a bunch. The best I can tell you is it's kind of like when they run out of questions. You've pretty much said everything you need to say, but you got to be careful because you can always say more. That's the danger when you're newer, is you start learning. Like the most dangerous time in this business is like 6 months to like 24 months, because now you start getting a real good feel of the business. You know 80% of all the answers, and you almost want to share them. You want to overshare. Let me tell you how dividends work, and let me tell you about the Morningstar rating, blah, 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 all this crap that they don't need to know. If they want to know, they'll ask you. And then later on, you start learning, oh, that's right. You realize that people skills is more important than technical skills, and you start learning your people skills better, and you start toning down. You stop having diarrhea of the mouth. So be careful when I make the statement that closing comes when they're done and you're done, because you're never done. Right? I still to this day fall in that trap where I'm excited about it on our share, and then I overshare, and then their eyes glaze over. And then they stop asking you questions because they don't want to hear a 20-minute tirade about how stuff works. They just want a quick answer. That's something I've really learned over the years. Sometimes, what's the limit of IRAs? I had someone over the weekend at the lounge ask me that. And I told them, and then I stopped. There's so much more I could have said about that, right? And I'll rein myself back in. And it's funny when you stop and you tell them the number, and then they start asking more questions. See, when they're asking, they're interested. When you start going too long, like you might feel that way now in the video, but this is obviously not a two-way conversation. So when do you close? Develop a closing instinct, practice that time. And when you're ready, it's 2 questions. Number 1 is basically a trial close. And you can use almost any of these trial closes here. Plus the 2 I just showed you in Nick Murray. And then it's a beautiful question that is very soft and gentle, but gets them to respond, gets them to acknowledge either, let's do it now, let's close it, so to speak, or let me tell you why not. So let's take a look. Here's the structure. So the first question is, can you see that this program will enable you to retire with complete financial security in your golden years? Right? Can you see that this investment program is going to help you reduce your stress by giving you that extra income that you need when you stop working? Whatever way you want to do it, okay? And then they'll either say, here's the thing. At this point, they're going to say, yes, I can see that, or yeah, we kind of, as long as everything you're telling me is true. And sometimes people will say things like that. They're not always going to say, yes, we can see that 100%. Okay, that's not going to be the case, okay? It's not always an easy, right? They'll say then, well, yeah, I kind of, yeah, I'm not convinced on the mutual funds, did they really do 12%? And that's actually good. That's the second part. The other thing that a good question does is it's going to either move the process forward to the next step, or it'll give you an objection that you either haven't covered yet or didn't cover well enough. And this is the magic here. So, for example, they might say, well, yeah, it does seem like it can do that if it's really true that a mutual fund can get a 12% return, or whatever, whatever the objection. Great. Oh, okay. So you're still concerned about the validity of the performance of the funds. Yeah, great. Then you sidestep and go there. See, that's what a good trial close does. A good trial close, it almost borderline doesn't matter what the response is. The response you don't want is, meh. Right? It's okay to get another objection that pops up. Now you can handle it, right? As Hopkins says, the worst objections are the ones you never hear. And objections also, 90% of the time, 99% of the time, indicate some interest. It's when someone doesn't give you any objections at all, no questions, and they're kind of like this, whether they're physically sitting like this or not. I'm using this as a metaphor, right? They might, because I sit like this a lot because I'm comfortable, but that doesn't mean I'm not interested, right? That's why I'm not a big believer in body language sciences and all that. Side note. But that doesn't mean if they're not engaged with you at all, that just means maybe they're doing you a favor, or maybe it was a referral and they don't want to piss the referee off, so they're willing to meet with you. Those are the worst. Now, there are sometimes people that they want to mess with you. They want to debate. They're argumentative. They want to kind of verbally fight, so they attack everything. But usually it's not the case. If they're asking any kind of questions, even if the question sounds like a mean objection, it means there's some interest. They might want to be especially if it's a man, they might want to show off in front of the wife or whatever a little bit, right? So they'll act like, well, what about the crisis back in the blah, 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 right? They might do something like that, like they're like your superior. You just keep your calm, okay? The point is, this is very, very important to understand, guys, when you close. Never take it as a fight. This is part of the handling objections issue training. Never handle it as a fight. Never think of it as a fight. You always stay calm. You keep them in a jacuzzi bubble, right? The nice warm bubble. But if they say anything agreeable to this question, right? Can you see that? Can you see? Let me see. What did he say? This is a great way to see. Can you see how this is a good solution to retirement? Does this strike you as a sensible solution? They say anything affirmative, then your response is here. Wonderful. Well, if we're ever going to get started with this program, when do you think would be the best time to start? Boom. That is the best single close I have ever come across. Super easy, super simple. Sure, you could say you want to get started. What do you think? This is the best one. It's soft, it's gentle, but it's a little more than just what do you think? But it's in a way it's softer than you want to get started. It's like, yep, I agree. So if you both were ever going to get started on implementing this program, or if you're both ever going to get started on starting, if you're ever going to get started, I'm trying to think of random of a program. If you're ever going to get started on protecting your family with high coverage, low cost term life insurance, when do you think would be the best time to start? And again, just like the first question, the fact that you got to this question means they haven't yet given you a big objection. They might sometimes still do it here. You're still going to get, well, probably soon, but we still want to think about it. Or, yeah, there's something we do need to do, but I'm still curious about what happens when the 30-year term runs out. Or, yeah, but I real soon, or yes, this is something we need to do, but right now I need to, talk to my cousins neighbor's uncle because he's a financial advisor too. I mean, probably this far into it, that wouldn't come up, but you get my point. That's okay. All those things are okay. If it's an objection and you can sense they're not, like if he says, yes, everything, yeah, probably real soon, but we need to think about it. You need to gauge a little bit, which by the way, probably that's the most common one. At this far into it, this is probably the most common one. And it's a horrible objection because they don't give you any meat. They give you nothing. As Hopkins says, it's a ghost. It's just this very generic. We need to think about it, right? So I'll cover it real quickly because this is where it comes up a lot, if it comes up at all. But there's a whole objection handling training we've done. The key on this one right now is you need to sense whether you have outstayed your welcome. If you feel that you have, then back off and go, no problem. And then here's what I would say, just for my sanity, can you give me an indication of maybe when you might decide? That's what I would do, is if they give me I want to think about it, and I feel like they're kind of done with me right now. They're not mad or upset or anything, but maybe we've been talking for an hour and a half, or you can sense they got something going on. And so then I'm just want to do that one other close. I want to get a little bit more information. And I do this. It's completely understandable. Just for my sanity, can you give me an idea of maybe when you might make a decision? Go, tell you what I'll do. You're doing a great job. Today's Monday. I'll let you by Wednesdays. Wonderful. Thank you. And of course, if you have any questions, something pops up, just let me know. I'll be happy to answer it. With that, thanks to, then you move on. Okay. That's what I would do. If they're like, hey, we want to think about it, but you're not getting a vibe that they want you to go right now, then you do I want to think about it. Say, oh, I completely understand. I'm just curious. What is it you want to think about? Is it anything to do with the product? Oh, no. The product, is it the plan? Is it kind of the strategy? No. Could it be me? Okay. Usually, and I break it down to three things. It's always the three things and everything, right? The iron triangle. It's going to be either the products, the strategy, like the philosophy, sometimes even the service, but really it's more, right? So the physical product, like the mutual fund, and then the strategy is use equity funds, put it in, move it to a variable annuity, take it out, right? So they're very closely related, but not always the same thing. Like maybe they'll believe in long-term equity investing, but they want to do index fund. So that's an example where they believe in a strategy, but not the exact product the way you believe in it. And then the third one is always you, right? So we want to think it over before we totally understand. Makes sense. Just out of curiosity, what is it exactly you want to think over? Is it the product? Is it the investments? No, I think, this American things, it sounds good. I actually have some of those funds in my 401k. And then before they can kind of say, we just want to think it over, and this is one of the rare cases, you almost interrupt. Like as soon as the period comes out of their mouth in the sentence, no, it's not the mutual funds, period. You jump in. Is it the strategy as a whole, kind of the whole philosophy and concept of using long-term? Well, no, it kind of makes sense, And then same thing, you kind of jump in, and God forbid, is it me? Oh, no, it's not you. And what you're hoping for is in one of those three little segments, right? Is it the product? Is it the strategy? Is it me? At any one of those, they might volunteer what it really is. And hopefully, or usually it's at the end. And now they know you've kind of exhausted it, right? You've said, okay, it's not the product, dude. It's not the strategy, philosophy, and it's not me. So what else could it be? You're not saying that. You say, it's not me, is it? Now they might still say, no, it's actually none of those. We just want to sleep on it. And then I back off. I'm done. I back off. But that's what happens with closing. But what you're hoping for with this, I want to think it over. It's called the I want to think it over close. Is the close itself? It's really not I want to think it over close. It's almost I want to think it over objection. And you won't close anything after this objection. But what you're getting to do is Hopkins says again, you want to smoke out what's really going on here. Because I'm giving you all the data. You seem to be agreeing with it. I think you like me. You're not right? You're not trying to get out of here. So what really is it? And then whatever that is, now you have something tangible to work on. You want to get the real objection, right? And all the stuff in combination. All right. So here's an example, retirement. John, can you see that this program will enable you to enjoy your golden years in complete financial security? Yeah, I mean, it looks good. I mean, yeah, it's good. See, that's the way they usually kind of answer. It's not this, yes, it's wonderful. Okay? So great. If you were ever going to start a program to get those golden years going, when do you both think would be the best time to start? See? The real magic here is the last half of it. When do you think would be the best time to start? If you want to boil it down, that is the real magic, is that last bit, the way that's phrased. And I tell you, I read it from, as I mentioned, I read it from Zig Ziglar, and I can't remember which book it was. He's got a lot of sales books. See You at the Top, maybe? And a lot of good stuff in there, of course, but that whole book, for me, was worth this right here. I've been using that for 30 years. It's great, wonderful, I agree with you. Well, if you're ever going to start this program, when do you think it'd be the best time to start? Boom. That's close. Now, what you want to do in closing here, after the yes, and they go, well, you know what? I guess there's no time like that. Let's just do it now. Okay, so then what you do is say, wonderful, here are the next steps. And then you move into the data gathering collection, right? There's a whole other program. Basically, the transition is wonderful or great, or I agree, good. Sometimes too, like more subdued, say, hey, that's wonderful, man, let's get it going. Don't do any of that. I don't think you would do that, but, and I'm exaggerating, but do that. Say, oh, wonderful, I agree. More subdued, more like you almost didn't, more like you're happy for them, but it didn't matter to you either way. I'm going to be careful about that too. Anyway, don't over like, yes, right? Let me just text my wife real quick and right, you don't want to do anything like that. What you do want to do, though, is then always be clear to them what comes up, how's this going to work? Because they have no idea. They don't know about DocuSign. They don't know that it's 2 steps, data collection, filling it in is 2 completely separate steps. They don't know that it's got to go to the broker-dealer, then it goes to the fund company. If it's a rollover, the fund company's got to send information to the rollover company. They don't know any of that, right? So without going in too much detail, you want to say, here's the next steps. I need to gather some data from you to collect from data to do the application. That's going to take me maybe 10, 15 minutes right now. I'll do it real quick, as fast as I can. I've got it all lined up, ready to go. I tell them that, okay? And then I'll let you go. I'll leave you be, and I'm going to actually create the actual application in DocuSign, and I'm going to send it to you. And there's going to be an IRA. I'm going to send an Roth IRA for you, John. I'm going to send a DocuSign to you, Roth IRA, Melinda, and then we're doing a traditional IRA for you, John, to do the 401k rollover. And you're just going to DocuSign. You're going to click, 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 and we're done. That's going to get sent to my company. They do the compliance stuff. They send it on to American Funds, and then we get the process started of a 401k process of them rolling the money over. And I might need your assistance in that. Sometimes the other company requires their own forms. They need the client to get on the phone. They do all kinds of stuff to hold on to the money. I'll keep you posted, but we may have to do some of that. Okay? Good enough. Great. Okay, so let me flick over here, go to my spreadsheet, and okay, so John, what's your full name? And you go into it. And that's why, by the side note, that's why you have to use something like the client's worksheet, where you have all the questions for that product and only the questions you need for that product ready to go. So you're doing a Roth IRA or you're doing an IRA, securities account, you ask these questions, you get them done, and you get out as fast as possible. Never do the data collection directly in DocuSign, because then you're flying all over this page, that page, and you forget stuff. You want to have it all streamlined. I cannot stress to you how important that is, because they don't want to they want in and out too. And it gives you an excuse to go quick and get out by saying up front, okay, the next steps are we're going to gather some data, and then once I gather, I'm going to go back home or wherever, however you phrase them, go back home or or I gather some data, I will disconnect, I'll leave you alone, I'll let you go, you got better stuff to do than chatting with me, right? And then I'm going to create the actual application in DocuSign, send it to you, then all you got to do. And if you could do me a favor, I'm going to send it within about an hour and a half. If you could click it today, because then they'll get working on it in the morning. Whatever. You get the point? Okay, so that's closing. So closing in a lot of cases is more a lot of setup. Let me go back to a lot of it is the setup and the preparation that goes around it. And of course, when you close, a few more quick tips that helped me over the years. When you are closing, don't change your demeanor, don't change your facial expressions. It's just a natural progression, right? It's that closing instinct that you just over time figure out when's the time to go for this. But what I will tell you is this. I think for most reps, I know it was for me, the most stressful time, even though I focused on objections in the beginning, but the most stressful, of course, is the close. So you absolutely have to practice, drill, and rehearse the closing script, the 2-question close, over and over and over and over again, even though it's only 2 lines. And sometimes people are better at learning a paragraph than 2 sentences because they look at 2 sentences, they say it in their mind, like in this training, you might be watching this and going, okay, I got it. But you don't. But if I said you got to memorize a paragraph, you know that you don't got it, so you actually go practice it. You got to practice the short 1-2 questions really, really well so that when you're nervous, it just comes out. Hey, can you see that this program is going to completely help you build a secure and safe retirement? Well, yeah, I mean, at least to help out. You know, we don't want to rely just on Social Security. Okay, I agree. So if you're ever going to start that journey towards that, when do you think would be the best time to start? And then you shut up, obviously, right? But don't change your demeanor. Don't go in closing mode. Okay? If you weren't talking that way during the presentation, or at least parts of it, then don't all of a sudden now be all super calm. Okay? Just continue the same way. That's important. You can't change. You can't make. It's gotta feel. It has to feel like a natural progression. That this is just naturally the next step. The next step is now summarizing whether you agree with it. And if they do, then ask them when they want to get started. But just stay away from, okay, you ready to get started? Make it a little softer and gentle. And they might even say, if you say, when do you think is the best time? Say, well, that's a good question. It makes sense to start soon, but I do want to just double check on the 401k first. That's a legitimate concern, right? So they're answering the question that you asked, which is when do they think is the best time? Or they might say, well, we didn't mention this, but actually this weekend we're going to Cabo. And I just don't want to do anything right now. So the best time is probably when we get back from Cabo, which will be, Friday in a week, whatever. Fair, right? So the answer to that could completely legitimately be not right now. But that's the best you're going to get. Okay, so that's closing. Hopefully that helped out.